The sun was sinking behind the jagged ridges of Red Creek, painting the sky in bruised shades of crimson and gold. The air was thick with dust and despair as Alara stood beside the broken corral, her heart pounding in her chest. She had spent her whole life in the shadow of her brother Jeb, a man twisted by greed and failure, a man who saw every living thing as a possession to trade. Their father's death had left the family ranch to ruin, and Jeb had gambled away what little remained. Now, with the ranch falling apart and debt collectors circling like vultures, Jeb's eyes had turned to the one thing he could still profit from: his sister. "You'll fetch enough horses to start over," he had said with a smirk, the smell of whiskey thick on his breath. Alara had tried to run once, but he caught her before she reached the ridge, dragging her back by her hair and locking her in the barn. Tonight he planned to sell her to a group of traders riding in from the border, men who dealt in human lives and didn't ask questions. As twilight deepened, Alara prayed silently for a miracle. That's when she heard the steady rhythm of hooves approaching, not the harsh thunder of the traders, but something different. One horse, calm, controlled. The sound stopped just outside the gate, and a shadow dismounted, tall, broad-shouldered, with a dust-stained coat and a star-shaped badge glinting faintly beneath it. She didn't know his name then, but the way he carried himself made her heart falter, not with fear but hope. The stranger's voice was low, gravelly but steady. "You all right, miss?" he asked. Alara couldn't speak. Her lips trembled, her throat dry. From the cabin, Jeb stumbled out, anger flashing in his eyes. "Ain't your business who she is?" he snarled, stepping closer, hand resting on the handle of his pistol. "She's mine to do with as I please." The cowboy didn't move, didn't even blink. He just tilted his hat slightly and said, "She's not yours and she sure as hell ain't for sale." His hand rested casually near his holster, but his tone carried a weight that silenced even the crickets. Jeb laughed bitterly, waving his gun toward the barn. "You gonna stop me, stranger? I already made the deal. They'll be here soon." The cowboy's gaze hardened. "Then they'll leave empty-handed," he said, voice like steel scraping stone. The tension snapped when Jeb lunged forward. In the same heartbeat, the cowboy's revolver cleared leather, and a shot cracked through the dusk. The gun flew from Jeb's hand, his wrist split by a bullet that burned instead of killed. He screamed, stumbling back, clutching his arm. "Next one goes through your heart," the cowboy said coldly. Ilara's tears fell freely as the stranger cut the ropes that bound her wrists. "You shouldn't have to live like this," he murmured. "You've got a name worth more than any horse." For the first time in years, she smiled, a fragile, trembling smile that carried both gratitude and disbelief. The cowboy helped her onto his horse, and together they rode away into the twilight, the wind carrying behind them the echo of Jeb's curses and the promise of a new beginning. But as they crossed into the valley, the cowboy's eyes stayed sharp on the horizon. He knew this wasn't over. Men like Jeb never let go so easily. The night was far from done, and justice in the West always came with a cost. The first light of dawn broke across the plains as Alara awoke to the smell of coffee and the quiet crackle of a campfire. The cowboy sat nearby, staring out at the rising sun, his expression unreadable. "You never told me your name," she said softly. He turned, the faintest smile tugging at his lips. "Name's Cole Marston." The name carried a weight, a whisper of stories she'd heard, of a lawman who rode the borderlands cleaning out the filth that preyed on the weak. "Why'd you help me, Cole?" she asked. He took a slow breath before answering, "Because someone once helped my sister when I couldn't. I owed a debt, and maybe this is me paying it forward." His words struck something deep in her. The world had taught Alara that no one cared for a woman without wealth or power, but in this quiet morning light, she began to believe differently. They didn't get far before trouble found them. 3 riders crested the hill behind them. Jeb and 2 traders, rough men with rifles slung across their backs. "You can't run, Alara," Jeb shouted as the men closed in. "She ain't yours, Marston." Cole's jaw tightened. He motioned for Alara to stay low behind the rocks. "Stay put. This ends now." The air trembled with tension as Cole stepped forward into the open, his coat billowing in the morning wind. The traders dismounted, hands twitching near their guns. "Walk away," Cole warned, his voice cutting through the silence. "This woman's free, and anyone says otherwise answers to me." Jeb spat on the ground. You think you're some kind of hero? She's my blood. Cole's eyes burned. Then you should have acted like it. The next few seconds were chaos. Jeb drew first and wild, desperate but Cole was faster. The first shot hit Jeb's shoulder, spinning him to the dirt. The traitors fired back, but Cole dove, rolled, and answered with two sharp cracks that sent them reeling. Dust and gunpowder filled the air. When the smoke cleared, Jeb lay groaning, clutching his wound, while the traitors' horses bolted into the hills. Cole approached slowly, gun still drawn. You sold your soul for a few horses, he said, voice quiet but deadly. Now you've lost everything. Jeb sneered. You'll regret this, lawman. Cole holstered his revolver and replied, Maybe, but she won't. Alara stepped forward, trembling but resolute. She looked down at her brother, not with hatred but pity. I forgive you, she whispered, turning away as tears streamed down her face. Cole helped her mount the horse once more, and together they rode into the rising light. For the first time in her life, Alara felt the weight of freedom, and it was both terrifying and beautiful. Cole glanced at her and said, You've got strength, Alara. Don't let the past steal it again. She nodded, holding her shawl tight as the wind picked up. Behind them, Red Creek faded into memory. Ahead lay the unknown, but it was hers now. And as the screen fades to black, let the message echo for every heart watching. Strength isn't in what you're given. It's in what you choose to fight for. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales of courage, love, and redemption. Your support keeps these stories alive.